Is the phenomenal STEMist. I'm so excited to be here in Orange County because it's where I live. I live in Apopka, Florida. And I decided to make this business because I saw a need for underrepresented students to be successful in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, math. And the best way I can do that is just provide products for parents to prepare them, whether it's a book or online STEM camps or just video podcasting. My goal is to transform this community, especially those who are underrepresented. And the way to do that is to help parents understand their children's minds and basically develop them at different stages of their lives to be prepared for a successful STEM career. Thank you so much. That's why I'm here.
What's up? What's up, world? Hey, how are you doing? How are you? How is everybody? See you on LinkedIn, see you on Facebook. I don't know who's watching, but I would love for you to greet me. Let me know where you're watching from, who's watching, and where you're watching from. Before I get into today's topic, college majors of millionaires, I do want to remind you to drumroll, buy that book. That book is available on Amazon as we speak. If you want to get to know your kid and help your child develop in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, get that book and have them do some activities for the summer. From the womb to the university, from the womb to university, and of course, it's so important for you to subscribe. Those of you who are on YouTube, do me a favor, take a little bit of time to subscribe. Subscribe, and share. Share, preferably the YouTube video. And lastly, don't forget you can find uh, anything that you want in regards to STEM camp, STEM prep courses. It's Phenomenal STEMist, www.phenomenalstemist.com. This month coming up, July 1, you want to get your kid in that STEM camp, online, virtual. You're fully in charge of how you're going to manage the time. So don't forget. Thanks so much for joining. Who's with me today? Who's with me? Who's with me? I see a few people, like I said, coming from Facebook, a couple people from Facebook, and then most likely the other one is from LinkedIn or YouTube, other ones. So greet me. I mean, I know my mother is my number one fan, but I think there are other people who are my fans as well, who love to get some knowledge on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I know my students are watching. They never greet me. Well, only a couple of them do. But good evening, everyone. We're talking about top 7 degrees that make the most millionaires. Top 7 degrees. What are they? There's a lot of chatter out there. Uh, talking about college doesn't college is not needed anymore. Um, they talk about the different college dropouts, like Bill Gates and um, who else? Who's the other guy? I guess he Zuckerberg. No one talks about Elon Musk having a master of science in computer science. But at any rate, and then nobody's talking about everybody that works for Bill Gates to really get the moving company going. Like, there's no Apple, there's no Microsoft, there's no Facebook without college graduates. I just want you to understand this, okay? Like, understand this. Now, do you need college to be successful? Like, are only people who are college graduates successful? Absolutely not. There are successful people of all demographics. But one thing for sure is that the most credible means of escape out of poverty. When I say credible, I'm talking about scientific statistics, okay? Not exceptions to rules, but statistics. The most credible way to get out of poverty is education. You hear me, guys? I was talking to my cousin this past week, my mother's first cousin, my grandmother's sister's daughter. And she told me, I was talking to a student, and one of my students says, "Well, Dr. Byfield, you come from a family, that is very educated," and that is very, very true. Shout out to phenomenal first Sundays. This Sunday, my cousin is gonna be on with me. He's an emergency medical physician, and I said I would do this. I forgot to do this. I have about. I'll do it next time, but I probably have about 7 physicians in my family. 7 physicians in my family. About 5 in my mom's cousins, and about 3, so maybe 8 to 10 physicians in my family. Just physicians. I'm not even talking about scientists, judges, doctors, excuse me, juris doctors, JDs, and some of my students said, "Well, that's just something that you grew up seeing," and I can say that's true. But I talking to my cousin this week, she said that my grandmother, first daughter of a farmer, my great grandfather was a farmer, and he had several children. He had 7 children with my great grandmother, and about 3 to 5 that we know of without outside. She said my grandmother in the 30s, y'all. I want you to in the 30s took it upon herself to get an education. She took it upon herself in the 30s. Okay, so it wasn't common for a woman to get an education, and it definitely wasn't common for a black woman to get an education, and it definitely wasn't common for somebody that comes up in agriculture, farming, right? So it ain't from generation to generation. Like, it was my great grandfather mainly farming to my grandmother deciding, you know what? I'm going to get an education, and I'm going to make sure that my siblings do the same. And then she realized that the future was in this country called America. She moved her way over here. One generation. It's not multiple generations. My grandmother moved over here, became a helper, went and got her CNA, then became an LPN, and then from an LPN, she became an RN. And she supported her daughter to went to get a GED, a AA degree, a bachelor's degree, master's degree. She supported her daughter to go get a nursing degree. She supported her son to get a MD. And then she supported her brothers, sent them to become contractors. And those contractors supported the family and created children that would go on to be Supreme Court justices in states. I'm talking about a one generation farmer daughter. It's not it's not what I thought of. It was like, it was one my grandmother transformed her generation. And the way she did it, the way she was able to take one generation from the farms of the countries of Jamaica to Capitol Hill, almost Supreme Court justice, and 8 physicians, and I'm not going to even go through in one generation. You know how she did that so quickly? You know how she transformed her family in one generation so quickly? She did it with an education. She did it with an education. She did it when nobody was getting education. She was a woman in the 1930s. They're not that many women in the countries of Jamaica going that route. But she did it, and she transformed her whole generation, her brother's children, her sister's children, her children, because she decided, I'm not going to go the farming route, and I'm not going to let the siblings go the farming route. Is there anything wrong with farming? Absolutely not. Farming is very important. But agriculture was important post slavery more than it is now. Not to say that farming the land is important and having food is important. But she saw that we were moving outside of agriculture technology. Technology was huge. That's why you have all these A&Ms. But then she knew that they were going to something else. And she knew that she had to get an education to do that something else. And she knew she had to put her children and her siblings in a position to get that something else. And what I'm trying to say is we're in the age of information. I told you last week by 2025 that most of the manual work will be completed by robots. See a few of you watching, guys. Give me a shout out. Where you watching from? And so you have to now see forward. You can't look backward as to what's popular now or back then. You got to see forward, and you have to make decisions now so that your grandchildren, God willing, can be successful. I am successful because my grandmother made the decision to go get education. She transformed. So all of you, my friends out there who are in poverty now, you're in poverty now, and you think you'll need multiple generations, not in this country called America, with all the bad things that happen in America. In this country, you can take one generation and transform it to a different one generation and transform that into a wealthy generation. That's for you, my students, who thought, well, that's her family, she's seen it. My grandmother never saw it, but she stepped out and transformed one generation. All right. So what am I saying is I'm saying that education is well documented, statistically significant way to transform generations out of poverty quickly. And you think quickly may be 5 months. It ain't gonna be 5 months, but it will be 1 to 2 generations. You'll see the massive transformation. So, what are the degrees that make millionaires? Most millionaires are let me say this. Most millionaires have these college degrees. Top 7. Number 1, engineering. Number 2, economics/finance. Number 3, politics. Number 4, mathematics. Number 5, computer science. Number 6, law. Number 7, business administration, master's, MBA. Engineering, mathematics, computer science. 3 of the 7 are STEM. And I would put finance in the math category as well. These are the people who have the million. I know they want to make you feel like you can be rich other ways. You can, and let me and what I will say is the goal shouldn't be to get rich. I understand that, but what I want you to know is I want you to think about fields that can bring prosperity. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're going to college and you're paying all kinds of student debt. I was looking at the Forbes article, which was saying the same thing about the top 7, and they looked at the bottom ones. They looked at the bottom ones that don't make much. Out of the 20 majors that people are successful in, there are some majors that don't become millionaires. Here are the bottom ones: majoring in philosophy, psychology, biology. I have a biology major, marketing, history, chemistry and physics and medicine. This is the lower, less than 1%, 1% and less. You're not gonna be a millionaire like majoring biology. See, I'm not a major millionaire. I majored in biology. Do you have to be a millionaire? Oh no, you don't necessarily have to be a millionaire. But I want you to think about some of these career fields to see if you would like to do it. Medicine, you don't become a lot of millionaires aren't did not major in medicine. They're in the 20%, but though they're low levels. Why? Why do people who major in biology, medicine, chemistry, they 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 take a lot of debt out? They take a lot of debt out in school. And so they go to school for a long period of time. They go to school for 10 years, so they're out of the market of working. They take out a lot of debt. And so their net worth doesn't give them that kind of money. Let's be real. Now last week I told you how important it is to become a physician, or the week before. I do believe that this shift is going to happen too. That though a lot of people are majoring psychology in the past, I think psychology is going to be a major of the future because it's human. But my point is, you're not going to necessarily make a lot of money with these majors if all you do is go to school and work. The reason why the top 7, number 1, engineering, is because it has a lot of impact and you don't have to go to school for a long time. A lot of my friends who are engineers went to school for 4 years and they started working at 22, and then they got into and the future is bright for engineering, and they got into a company and they worked their way up the company and they compounded their wealth for 10 years before anybody in medical school can ever get a chance, right? When a guy gets a bachelor's degree in engineering at 22, he works. When a girl gets a bachelor's in engineering, she works at 22. And then by 30, she's in upper level management. Versus by 30, a physician is just beginning their residency, making not a lot of money and doing all kinds of crazy hours. So some degrees get them faster. Same thing with economics and finance. It's just faster. Faster degrees versus being in school for a long time. I think, hey Christoph, and then add compound that with debt. How are you doing? Good to see you. Combine that with debt, right? Undergraduate debt, MD medical school debt. You're working. Once you really don't start getting a lot of money after becoming a physician till maybe 35, and you're working your way to pay off your debt to increase your net worth. However, what I will say is it is a very important field It is a very important field. Good to see you. Very, very important field that can truly assist in the health of our nation. So, is medicine important? Absolutely. But I don't think it's the only way to get wealthy. That's what I'm saying. Number 1, engineering, economics, politics, mathematics, computer science, law, a master's in business administration. Those are usually the people, the degrees in people that are millionaires. Those are the so consider those degrees. Consider them and find and see how successful you can be with those degrees, and then try your best to go to institutions that support you to get those degrees, and do your best to get scholarships for those institutions for those degrees. You'll come out debt free, and then you'll be able to maximize your paycheck. And when you're able to maximize your paycheck, that is how millionaire, one of the ways. Then you can be entrepreneurial, entrepreneurship, along with your education, can bring your family. As I said, my grandmother, it's one generation. It's not it's not what you think, where the only way you can have wealth in this life and bring yourself out of poverty is because your parents had to be rich, and your parents had to be rich. It can take the thinking of one person, and you can change the dynamic of your whole family in one generation. Education is the major pathway to let that happen. Don't let anybody make you feel that education isn't important. Do you have to do expensive education? Absolutely not. You can go, like I said, my grandmother came here and she did a CNA, and she did a LPN, then she did a RN degree. My mother came here. She did a GED, and then she got her associates, and then she got her bachelor's, and then she got her master's. She took pace with it, just like my grandmother did, so that her daughter could go get a bachelor's, master's, and PhD. Are you listening to me, guys? An immigrant, a person who did not know, left their home and crossed the water, went from a CNA to a PhD. And it's just me. My cousins, if I just look at the line of my grandmother's children's children, I am my mother's daughter, her only daughter, her only granddaughter, PhD. My aunt has 2 daughters, MBA, PharmD. My uncle has, let me take my time, five sons, four sons and a daughter, 5 children, 4 sons and a daughter. MD, MD, JD, human intelligence, so computer science, and fine arts, and masters in fine arts. A farmer's daughter that became a helper and did a CNA license. That, well, education does that, y'all. Education does that. And it can be a community college education. The foundation of it all was my grandmother's and my mother's community college education, debt-free education, yo guys. Education is powerful. Don't let anybody tell you it's not, because I've seen it happen in my family. Choose wisely. Think about the top 7. Hope you guys have a good evening. Any questions any comments, questions? Mother says, after she was working in Jamaica with helpers herself, she came to America, humbled herself. You hear what I'm saying? Humble herself. She had 30 years plus teaching. She got an education to become an educator. 30 years plus teaching. And then switched at 50. Shout out to all the older ones. Those of you who watching who are in your 50s. My grandmother did this at 55 years old. All right? So in the 30s, she went to get an education to become an educator, which is rare for women, especially women of the country. She taught 30 years being high-class Jamaican educator. Jumped ship to America, became a helper after in Jamaica having helpers herself. Becomes a helper in America and gets a CNA. You know what CNA, certified nursing assistants, do? Shout out to all the CNAs out there. My grandmother did that. Then she did an LPN. Then she did a registered. Then she became a registered nurse. And she did that at 55 years old. It's not too late. It's not too late. Christoph says, my story is almost the same as yours. Mom teaching in Jamaica to masters in the US. Wow. Okay, so you're a teacher's kid, Christoph. So you know the power of education. There's power in education. And you know what I always say to you? Complete, my brother. Finish. And move from step by step. It doesn't matter. Listen, how you finish, but finish. And you move step by step. You take it one step at a time. And you do it as debt-free as possible. You do it as debt-free as possible. And you choose wisely the major, because you're going to choose based on the future. You're not going to choose based on the past. You're going to look into the future and see the future jobs of America. And you're going to, especially if you're making an investment in your education, you want to invest wisely in your stuff. Yeah. Hope we had a good conversation. Remember, just to remind you guys, the book is on Amazon right now. On Amazon. Please do me a favor, share this. Share this. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Maya Byfield. And any kid interested in STEM camp, I have an online STEM camp. Registration is ending this week. So you can jump right in next week for Phenomenal STEM Camp. Register at www.phenomenalstemist.com. Good night, everybody. Oh, let's see if somebody had another comment. They're getting better and better. Okay. Appreciate the compliments. Do me a favor. If you have any ideas, send me an email. All right, guys.